What's up, guys, and welcome back to the NoShang Invitational. We're in Game 3 of the lower bracket. One of these two teams is going to be out of the tournament after this game. We're tied 1-1. We'll see who's able to take it and move on. I'm Mikelorus, going to be joined by MRP for this third and final game. Game 2, man, was, I think, like, as polar opposite as you can get from Game 1.
Yeah, and kind of opposite from what my expectations were at the very least. Felt like just kind of an odd laning decision from NL5 really hampered them going into the mid game, and you can never count out a Zeus Spectre lineup, especially if you add Bambo's Batrider on top of that. So Come With Me also definitely a standout throughout the series thus far, despite the Game 1 loss for Kaipi. Kind of felt like he was, with his Aether Lens Lina, the only thing keeping him in the game in Game 1. And there you have it. NoLifers, Kaipi will garner a Batrider ban coming out from NoLifers here. We'll see if they go back to their bread and butter with the Chen in this last game, but Batrider ban is already going to bode well for Kaipi in this early phase, I feel.
I mean, it is definitely one of the heroes that Bambo is most comfortable with. We saw it in the last game. He did he finish with no deaths? If he got any deaths, it would have been like super late when it would have been almost irrelevant anyway. So he was playing a pretty clean Batrider in the top lane. Granted, that lane was probably a lot easier than it really should have been. We mentioned earlier in NL5 opting for some kind of weird laning choices, a little bit of over-aggression from them in the lanes and in the first nighttime phase as well, which costed them dearly. So I think the Batrider ban is perfectly justified, but it is interesting to see Chen still left in the pool. Seems like Kaipi going to ignore that one. Doesn't seem like they're just not really huge on that hero, I think, in the first place. But Witch Doctor, Nature's Prophet, the opening for the Kaipi squad, and a Beastmaster Invoker opening.
I really don't see why Kaipi leaves Sing Sing's Invoker in the pool with that pickup. I feel like that's a pretty large oversight from them overall. Beastmaster Invoker is just a kill machine. It is constantly going to churn out pickoffs just from these two heroes alone. And Beastmaster is a pseudo counter to the Prophet, with the Hawk being able to see through the Sprout and him being able to roar him out of TPing out, as well being able to bring the Sprout down with the axes. So Sunstrike on top of that, potential is huge for NL5 throughout the game to find pickoffs just with these two heroes. So very odd for me to see Kaipi leave it in the pool. Sing Sing's definitely very competent on the Invoker, as we saw in Game 1. So it's a strong opening with Doctor Prophet, no doubt. Will allow them to push, will allow them to Roche, will allow them to potentially find pickoffs if Come With Me's rotations were as timely as they were in Game 2. But regardless, I feel like giving away the Invoker here could come back to bite them in the rear.
It seems like this time NL5's ganks are going to be just so much more difficult for a Witch Doctor to rotate into. Like, it's going to happen so quickly. You roar them, you Sunstrike them, the target is mostly dead at that point, so you have to see them coming a long ways beforehand if you're the Witch Doctor and if you're looking to make defensive rotations. So just naturally this game is going to be a little bit harder for the Witch Doctor in order to make those defenses. Like, up against a Night Stalker, it's a lot easier to do that because the kills happen a lot slower. Like, they involve voids, several void casts even, the rundown, the right clicks, and Witch Doctor will have a lot of time to actually TP in, but that's definitely not going to be the case here. NL5 have a lot of explosive damage, and Nature's Prophet, Witch Doctor are heroes that can't really interrupt that, and are heroes that aren't really tanky enough or survivable enough in any way to actually have a good response to it. So it is going to seem like Kaipi have to kind of get off to a game plan of their own, and well, of course that remains to be seen what that actually is going to be. Both sides rather open-ended for right now. It seems like it's probably just going to be like the most powerful hero you could possibly grab going to be grabbed up next. That's why we see kind of these just like generally powerful heroes being banned out. Gyrocopter specifically is just like a kind of catch-all core hero.
I could see potentially okay, so Chen's gonna come out for Kaipi here, and I like this pickup. They are gonna kind of do what NoLifers attempted to do in Game 1, and certainly they have the potential to do so. I don't know that I've seen Mad play a jungle support all that recently, but he certainly played a lot of it in the past, so I'm sure he's very capable on this hero. Come With Me, as we saw, pretty potent as well on the Witch Doctor. I was gonna say there was a potential for a Doom pick from Kaipi. Bone 7 being a former offlaner is definitely very comfortable on the Prophet in the safe lane, so this draft from Kaipi is a bit more variable than some other teams would, having the Prophet come out early on. It may not necessarily be the 3-roll. I think the NoLifers OD ban is very wise coming out from them. I kind of was looking at that as the potential pick for the mid lane for Kaipi, but definitely don't sleep on Sing Sing's puck here. Deals decently well with the Invoker, and isn't the easiest target to find for Aurora, pretty elusive. And once he picks up something like a Yule's or a Lincoln Sphere, is probably fairly survivable versus that combination. But for now, they're going to opt actually for the Queen of Pain. So another hero that is a little bit resistant to the mid lane gank of the Bounty Hunter, is a bit susceptible, I find, to the Roar combo, though, later into the game. So we'll see how Kaipi are able to protect it behind this kind of front line of the push for Sing Sing's Queen of Pain.
I mean, it is going to be, it looks like a draft that is going to be timed out by the time they get to the late game. So the fact that she'll get killed off by that, it almost seems like it's going to be irrelevant. Kaipi really going to go in pretty hard, and that's kind of in stark contrast to what NL5 did in game one. Had a very similar kind of base to work off of, but had the late game power in spades to really back it up just with their itemization, their Juggernaut pick. So, well, I mean, it's definitely possible for Kaipi to grab a core hero in that regard to help them scale for Bone 7 in their last box. But for Kaipi's other two cores, Queen of Pain, Nature's Prophet, these are heroes that will kind of fall off in their impact in the late game, especially going up against the heroes that NL5 have selected right now. The Sven is going to be the selection. Of course, the armor is really nice when you're walking into a Chen army, a Nature's Prophet army, a Witch Doctor, Death Ward. But the concern I have for NL5 is that, much like Kaipi, they have very little in the way of wave clear. They have even less, in fact. So these Treants, these Chen summons, are going to be really hard for NL5 to actually deal with.
Yeah, the 10-minute mark, Great Cleave is not going to be nearly enough for Sven to be able to protect his tier 1s. And having a Bounty Hunter, not having something like Kaipi had in the early game with a Tusk, they have very limited wave clear. As you mentioned, Wild Axes are typically not leveled up and are not enough to bring down a creep wave by their lonesome, regardless, for NL5. So Sven is kind of the one hero that hasn't slipped through when there are push lineups, because he does deal well with them, but he needs some sort of support on the back end. So it does feel like Kaipi can just, although the Queen of Pain is definitely susceptible to, a Blink Stormhammer, a Roar into a Sunstrike, at that 10 to 12 minute mark, it definitely feels like they can just throw these summons in the front lines and feel fairly safe for Kaipi's side. So I don't know that there's really a support pick in the 5th phase that will deal with that well enough for NL5. I mean, Coddle is a terrible hero, and he's probably the only one who can do it all by his lonesome with the wave clear. So feels like Kaipi postured up in a much better position in this game 3 draft than they were in game 2.
Yeah, they just need now some sort of late game payoff, or a safe lane hero that could just really jam it home. And I was gonna say Lycan, which is something that I was kind of surprised that NL5 didn't at least consider in the first game. Rather, would have fit perfectly in with the Nature's Prophet and Chen, and I guess we're having a very similar situation here. But as long as the hero is able to contribute a little bit into this early game phase, I think they should be fine. You don't really need that much in order to really lock down a Beastmaster. Morphling, perfectly reasonable up against NL5. They have a Sven disable. They have the Roar. Tools that aren't even guaranteed to get the kill on the Morphling once you commit them. So this is going to be a pretty nice game to just be Morphling right now. And for Bone 7, getting caught out as an Ember Spirit is one thing. Getting caught out as a Morphling is quite another. It's so much more difficult to kill off a Morphling than it is for an Ember Spirit once you stun them up. So he has a little bit of insurance just in case that game 1 issue rears its ugly head again.
I don't know if I like the Morphling. I definitely agree with you in the sense that he's super survivable, just being able to morph through the Roar and whatnot, but I don't know if I like it over something like a Juggernaut who, if his reaction times are good enough, can get a Blade Fury off before the Roar. I mean, still, Sunstrike is pure damage. He's still very killable, but, as you mentioned, I felt like the Jam It Home route was not necessarily safer because you do want that insurance policy, but I think probably a lot more attractive for me, at least, building this push lineup. They're already so potent in that facet, and I think the Queen of Pain gave them enough kind of mid game scaling at the very least to close this one out. But it looks like they'll get somewhat a bit of cold feet with that last pickup on the Morphling. But either way, I mean, Bone 7 will have a good time in terms of not getting picked off. They do, though, pick up the Lina in the 5th slot for NoLifers, and Blizzy, if he gets his levels, can definitely do some work against the Morphling with the Laguna Blade. So Morphling not as safe with that 5th pick coming out. Still, it feels like he may not just contribute enough here early on to the push lineup. The waveform is going to be a nice nuke early on, but he's just not all that scary of a team fight presence, and definitely is a hero who tends to want to split push with the replicate and be able to find solo picks until he gets up some really strong item progression to be able to contribute to the team fight. Whereas, Sven, Invoker, they're going to be contributing necessarily at all levels.
Yeah, maybe something like a Slark, a little better for Kaipi, just a hero that can get in a little bit earlier. The options weren't really that numerous left in the pool, at least for that safe lane. I don't know, like a Weaver or something would have been kind of awkward. A Luna would have been kind of sweet, but probably not in the best position up against all this burst damage. Their options weren't really all that deep, so I think this is perfectly reasonable for the Kaipi side. Whereas on the other end, the Lina last pick, probably the best pick that NL5 could be making right now. They'll have the nice little combo of Sven Lina. You don't really need much additional power in order to win a lane with that combo. Plus, you have a little bit of wave clear coming out from your support. Still, we saw in game 1, it wasn't necessarily enough at all times to actually convincingly clear off waves every single time, but at least we're going to have a little bit of crowd clearing from the NL5 side. Still, this mass of units backed up with a lot of just jump and kill power from your Kaipi side, I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for the NL5 squad to deal with, so they may just lose all their tier 1s without putting out much of a fight, and still tier 2s aren't going to be completely safe afterwards.
Yeah, it very well may be that this last pick doesn't really matter in the scheme of them losing early towers. They definitely have the potential to do so with the Chen and the Voodoo Restoration and then Nature's Prophet regardless. So Sing Sing on the front lines as well with the impending burst potential and that kind of intimidation factor against, a bounty hunter who's not going to contribute all that much at the 9-10 minute mark. So definite potential for these structures to drop regardless. Still felt like maybe a Juggernaut would have been a better position and wasn't actually banned out by that 5th phase for the Morphling. But yeah, we saw what an Invoker Beastmaster or any hard disable and Invoker can do with the Tusk into the Invoker against the Juggernaut in game 1. So Morphling feels very survivable. We'll see how much traction he's able to get under his heels. He is somewhat of a self-sufficient laner, and we'll see. Actually, Come With Me pick up the Chen here, and Mad is going to be on the Witch Doctor. So we'll see if Mad's Witch Doctor rotations are nearly as fruitful as the Come With Me ones were the game previous to this. And Zayak, he's going to be behind enemy lines scouting out NL5's movements here for now. He'll also get down a deep ward that will block the large camp for the Chen.
It is worth noting that in game 1, we did have Chen on the Radiant versus Bounty Hunter in the Dire, and both those two heroes got very little done. I mean, I guess the Bounty Hunter, what he got done was make sure that the Chen got nothing done. So I guess Bounty Hunter's mission was a little bit more successful, but don't expect the Chen Bounty Hunter to have a massive impact in this early game. It's still very possible. They, I think, opened up with Smoke. Did Kaipi open up? Okay, no, maybe they didn't, but still, Come With Me may just be better off just playing a little bit more of a passive role in this Chen game. Ooh, they have an angle on the Courier. No, they don't. Cuckles is going to run up to the north, and he will be fine, but we could see Come With Me and Mad. They're not going to grab the best creep spawn, but this is a move that you make if your plan is to go ahead and make a very early attempt at the enemy mid lane.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice pull, though, coming out from the Radiant off lane, so Bambo should be able to find himself a little bit of experience if he's able to get under the tower. He was zoned out there early on, and Zayak being pretty patient looking for this Courier in the mid lane. Now Mad will rotate through and look to cover the Courier, being able to make it over towards that mid lane and ferry out the items himself to his mid laner.
Well, the Beastmaster contingency plan in full effect right now. Grab the Iron Talon is going to be pretty safely jungling, at least for right now. That means that Bone 7 is going to be perfectly happy, and he's going to be free farming that bottom lane. And we also see Zayak trying to poke and prod over in mid, a lane where you can't very easily mess with the Queen of Pain. At least you can't lethally mess with the Queen of Pain. Also means that Come With Me is going to have a little bit of free space to just do his thing in his own jungle right now without having to worry about a Bounty Hunter. Bounty's going to be bouncing back and forth between the top lane Nature's Prophet and the mid lane Queen of Pain. Top lane definitely a little bit more fruitful here for Zayak, but as far as messing with the Chen, I don't really know if the Bounty Hunter is in a great spot to do it right now. Chen's already level 3, so even if he starts, it's not really going to do all that much. So this early game phase looking pretty darn good for the Kaipi squad already, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, having the Beastmaster retreat to the jungle is always going to secure that he gets that early roar, a good amount of farm, a Necro 1 before perhaps a Blink, but it does mean that Mad can just rotate wherever there is need on the map on his Witch Doctor and just look to tip the scales back in Kaipi's favor. Bone 7's going to completely free farm Sing Sing. He's not going to feel all that susceptible to Zayak's rotations, and to some extent that means the entire early game of this Bounty Hunter is going to be thwarted. Bambo could be in a bit of trouble top lane, but he's still only level 1 for the BH, so he's going to have to look to soak a little bit more to get the slow. Orb of Venom is not going to be enough for Bambo with the early Boots of Speed start, and he'll catch a storm, but will live to fight another day. And as you mentioned, come with me, he's going to find a good amount of early farm on the Chen.
In the meantime, a lot of pressure being applied to the mid lane Invoker that was just saying, not even losing a lot of health to drop Runic down to like 20 HP or something like that. I don't know what StarCraft has to do with it. There we go. Okay, so Queen of Pain level 4, Invoker level 4 as well. You would perhaps expect a little bit more of an interference from the Bounty Hunter from the NL5 side as opposed to the Kaipi side, but Queen of Pain just right now is pretty much as happy as she can be. Witch Doctor, of course, hanging around a little bit, but Invoker is not going to have many chances to get kills on the mid lane. On the bottom lane, of course, that's completely dead. Really, it's only Bambo who's in any degree of trouble at all. And even if the pressure does mount in Nature's Prophet, he could always bounce towards his own jungle and start doing that, or look for aggressive teleportation, start looking for kills elsewhere. So it seems like for NL5, they don't really have many options at this stage, especially when Runic gets hit with a couple of unlucky cast bounce. Luckily for him, Witch Doctor not able to catch him with some right clicks, but it's a super passive early start, and for the Kaipi side, that's really what they want. They want to have levels like 1 through 5 be achieved pretty much scot-free. Then once that level 5, once those level 6s come up, then the aggression is really going to start to mount.
Yeah, if you trade evenly early on with a Sven, he's always going to be able to surmount you in that mid game. Once they stack up a few Ancients, he gets up the levels in Great Cleave. So this early start is going to mean a lot for Kaipi, especially in the hands of Bone 7's Morphling, who does want to be ahead. TP forward. Going to be canceled. It's going to bait out an LSA from Blizzy.
Mid.
From Bambo, and yeah, now they're going to look to posture up mid. Cast going to come through on Runex. The Scream of Pain is there. Level 2 Shadow Strike as well. Penitence. Stomp does miss, but Rune will fall regardless. And now 4 heroes already up in this mid lane, and it could look to at least put some chip damage into this tower. The respawn timer is very low. There's no mechanism, of course, as it is only 5 minutes into the game, but at the very least, they'll be able to put some significant chip damage into this tier 1 mid.
Sing Sing gonna find a green rune as well. Not too bad for Queen of Pain, who's out of mana. And, well, Invoker can't really do too much to get rid of this. There is another creep wave incoming, and the creep wave of the Dire is being messed with quite a bit by Come With Me's creep movement. So it is going to be a Centaur to fall, which kind of... Oh, nice deny from the Witch Doctor. Just insult to injury. Runek's not going to get jack from this mid lane push. As normally you get quite a bit of experience when a push like this happens, because creeps just naturally die, but... got pretty much nothing there because he got in the area really late, so it's a super early tower push from the Kaipi side. And they could even afford to stick around here as the Queen of Pain. Usually once the tower falls, the lane gets a little bit more dangerous, more access routes for the enemy, but Queen of Pain still with that blink is going to be fine up towards top lane. Bambo dodges the LSA by shifting off to the right, and he's actually going to be fine up against this Sven Lina lane.
Yeah, and I mean it's not all that uncommon that you see a 5-minute tower go down with a Chen lineup and a Prophet as well, but it is uncommon to see the mid lane tower go down that early, and Runic losing that kind of access point onto the map is going to be huge for him. It's going to mean that the ganks in towards the jungle are a lot more possible coming from KP's side, and it means that they're going to have a lot of at least space to farm on their side of the map early on. The Chen, he picks up the last hit on the tower as well. He can get up an early set of arcanes or maybe straight into the mech. So all things going swimmingly thus far. And for NL5 side, really, I mean, the Beastmaster's found some farm in the jungle, but not nearly as much as you would expect him to at this point. He has found his level 6, but only 19 CS 6 minutes into the game. And his Invoker having that death is going to mean he doesn't contribute all that much with the 3 points in Exort in terms of a Sunstrike. So it's looking really good for Kaipi.
Lots of green heroes on top of the last hit chart for right now. That's not the right button. There we go. Net worth looking very much so the same. Invoker behind exactly where Kaipi want to be right now. They're going to blindly dust up for Zayak. They will not connect with that. Napoleon's right behind them. It's time for Beastmaster to start playing this game, but unfortunately, I'm not really sure if this is the best place to do it. Going up against the Chen Hen Witch Doctor, of course, is not an easy feat. With a Queen of Pain right around the corner, it gets even more difficult. And with Nature's Prophet always around the corner, it gets even more difficult still. So I don't think this is the time or place for Napoleon's to make this play. And there's also something to be said about the fact that mid lane tower dropping does offer a little bit more control over these runes. So for someone like Queen of Pain, who really does benefit a lot from getting those extra bottle charges for one thing, but also those random rune benefits, it's even more pressure applied to the dire side. Napoleon's is narrowly going to dodge a smoke gank, but because he didn't get smoked, that means that someone else is going to, mainly Zayak, who's going to get dusted up. They have a cask, which is going to be thrown. Blink in from Sing Sing. This is a super dead bounty hunter right now, and they're going to dagger do the last hit. No, Chen's right clicks is going to do it, but another kill here for the Kaipi side, and very little punishment elsewhere, as Bambo is still on this top lane, super comfortably farming it up. Even with a God Strength Sven, he's still chilling in this lane.
Yeah, finding himself some farm, some much needed farm as well, and they don't really need him elsewhere on the map. They don't find the biggest kill, but they'll drop down a ward in front of the Ancients. They'll look to take the tier 1 in the offlane, which they're able to do successfully, and now put some pressure into this tier 2 as well. So Kaipi hitting all their timings here perfectly. The Morphling is finally going to join the fray with tons of early farm sitting atop the net worth, and yeah, they're going to look to flank this from the west side. They do have a roar available. Come with me. He's bought out here mostly, so may drop a few. Roar's going to come out. Sunstrike will be there. Come with me will drop, but the Sonic Wave is going to come through too. Wrath of Nature, Adaptive Strike. 3 dead. That'll be 4 with Zayak dropping. Double kill goes the way of the Bounty Hunter, but there's not even track available. The Bounty Hunter is level 3, so this trade, including the tier tower, is more than satisfactory for Kaipi, and they'll only end up losing their 2 supports, their 3 cores. Major beneficiaries of this, especially in the hands of Bone 7, and already 3 towers eliminated from the map here 9 minutes in. Kaipi are going to be more than content with where this game is sitting. They're going to have the mechanism here relatively soon on Come With Me, and once he picks that up, look for this last tier 1 to go down and Roshan to be the target before they continue to queue the push up.
All right, so I do kind of like the idea of being able to just 100-0 the Chen, get rid of that hero immediately off the bat, because he is by far the easiest hero. Problem with that is that the angle at which NL5 approached and the angle at which the Chen and Queen of Pain were positioned meant that once they roared the Chen, the Queen of Pain got pushed down to the south because of the roar, which let her land a 3-man Sonic Wave. If the roar just functioned in such a way where it didn't push anyone, then Queen of Pain's best Sonic Wave would have only been 2 heroes. But because it actually moved her, it worked so well for Sing Sing. It hit absolutely everyone. And he didn't even have to do anything about it. That's the best part. It just kind of happened to him. So Kaipi land a massive Sonic Wave. And this early on with Sonic Wave, Wrath of Nature, and Morphling Waveform over the top, it's going to be really hard to lose a fight afterwards. So it's going to be the dire side NL5 trying to maybe keep these fights on a single target by single target basis, 2v2s, 2v1s, those type of fights. When it comes to a 5v5, you can't really top a Queen of Pain Sonic Wave until your Invoker gets a lot more experience, and that is nowhere close to being completed right now. So Kaipi working with quite the gold advantage, and they are going to be difficult to dislodge in the upcoming minutes. Once this Chen mechanism comes up, well, they will unfortunately fail the smoke as Zayak's sitting right on top of them. But once this mechanism comes up on the Chen, he's already level 6. These other towers should fall just as quickly.
Yeah, precisely. And I mean, them to be able to do it without even having the mech up top lane is just worse for NL5. Once they have the mechanism, they're going to be looking at Roche and then tier 2 towers at this point. So the big thing is, as well as with these push lineups, generally you expect them to be a little bit lacking in the experience department, but that is not the story in this game, as they've been able to get enough kills on top of objectives to still stay ahead in experience. So although their gold lead is larger, their experience lead is more than sufficient at this point. And Zayak, he may run into Bone 7 here. He's going to get vision from his ward, but now Sing Sing will jump forward, looking to find him. The Scream and the Waveform, they almost kill him off. The Shadow Strike, it's actually going to do the job, it feels. Yeah, one more tick. And Zayak, he's going to drop and further delays him from getting the track. It'll give him the numbers advantage, and they'll immediately jump up towards his top lane. They'll deal with Rune pushing in the bottom lane. He will be able to TP out, however. The Beastmaster may not be so lucky. Napoleoshka is going to be able to make it out. Now they're making a beeline for this top lane, and this could be the overextension that NL5 are waiting for. They're jumping forward, looking to find this Beastmaster. The Sprout will push him out, though, and now Roar comes out onto Come With Me. They're flanking in from the south side, but it'll only be a Chen kill. They get the tier 2 in the meantime as well. Come With Me's dodging the LSA. He's at least going to delay this out a little bit. But regardless, 12 minutes in, 4 or 5 outer tier towers drop. Mid lane is not looking all that healthy, and when the Chen comes up back off the board, he's got that mechanism recipe, so Roche is pretty much easy pickings for KP, especially with the Roar on the sidelines for the next little bit.
Losing Chen there is just a completely acceptable loss. They get the tower in the end. That was a really bad TP there from the Beastmaster, which luckily for him wasn't punished enough. The Stomp just out of range, the Sprout not quite catching him properly either, so that could have easily been a tower and Beastmaster down for nothing. So it was as good as it could have been for the NL5 side, but still not quite good enough. They only have one tier 2 tower left standing, and I mean, the Bounty Hunter's not quite at that track mark just yet. He actually does have a buckler, which is a lot more than I would expect from this Bounty Hunter, honestly, but it's not really going to help him all too much once this push from Kaipi starts winding up again. And this is also a game where they have a Morphling, mind you, so his Lincoln Sphere is up 13 minutes in with Ring of Aquila and Power Treads is an outrageous amount of farm from the Morphling, but this item pickup with Lincoln Sphere kind of makes him, well, not a viable kill target for this Roar into Sunstrike combo. They're going to have to burn some sort of other trash skill there, and I guess they have track for that, but man, you don't really want to be wasting any spells into this Morphling, and even then you don't guarantee the kill. Ziggy is going to move forward. He is going to blow a smoke of the Lina. I don't think they see each other, at least not yet. Lina still hidden, is now going to be spotted, and she does not want to see this. But, oh, yeah, waveform in, and should be a pretty easy kill here for Bone 7. Lina is going to have to juke the crap out of, oh, never mind. Sing Sing's right around the corner. Okay. Well, that's a dead Lina, and 30 seconds on the sidelines. Maybe it's time to finish up this last hour or two. Maybe it's time to go for Roshan even. They have enough bulk in the front lines to kill it off without taking that much damage.
Yeah, they've got the Nature's Prophet summon, so it feels like Roche should be pretty easy pickings here. Bambo is a little bit low on mana, so that's slightly concerning here, but jump forward, they might find another pick, and this will be a very easy Roche if they're able to do so. Bambo, he'll TP in front, and won't even need the Sprout Vision, just one more Scream of Pain. The right click from Bambo actually going to be there to finish off the Bounty Hunter, and now this lineup going to do one of the things it does best and look to take this Roshan. And it's going to be an easy second life. Likely for Sing Sing, could be for the Morph as well, but either way, he's got a full Orchid ready in base for the Queen of Pain as well.
Jeez. Like, the Lincoln Sphere timing is already insane. The fact that there's an Orchid happening at the exact same time is pretty crazy. They will kill off the Roshan, grab the Aegis, nothing stolen there by the Dire, although it looked like that might have been close. This is a pretty big timing for the Kaipi side. At this point, you're only 15 minutes in the game. You're usually not thinking about going for high ground, but honestly, if they get a good Chen army, with this power level of these items, given the timings, if they don't lose Bone 7 up on this top lane, they can consider sieging that high ground. And there is, again, not much clearing here on the NL5 squad. Axe is level 1. There's Dragon Slay level 4, which is not nothing, but the Invoker would really like to have a little bit more time to work with his Hand of Midas, get a little bit more experience. So Kaipi are working with pretty much all of the options in the world right now. Seems like pick off into last tier 2 is the safest way to go, but depending on how that pick off goes, depending on the scale of that pick off, it may just be a very, very quick set of Raxes in favor of Kaipi.
Yeah, and in general, you're not going to see Kaipi providing too many opportunities. Top lane, Hubber, he's going to use the God Strength, and Bambo's going to rotate in. We saw the Sprout there is going to be perfectly placed from Bambo, knowing he has a hatchet. They'll kite him around, they'll bring him down, 40 seconds on the sideline. What I was going to say is the only hero that's going to be even somewhat gankable is going to be this Morphling, and having the Lincoln Sphere, the initiation there from Pubber was unwarranted, to say the least, and they'll be able to turn it nicely with the Prophet. Mad is going to be stocked here, could be in a bit of trouble. This might be the pick they need to delay the timings, but if Sing Sing's going to find a return kill here, it'll be much worse for NL5, and they don't get the Lina, they do get the BH though, so with only a Witch Doctor down, definitely feels like they still push into this tier 2 mid.
I mean, they do get a track kill for that, so it's not the worst thing for NL5 in the world. Lina is working with that ether lens, but yeah, there's no Sven still, so this tower is definitely going to fall. In the meantime, towards top lane, Morphling going to start being a little bit of a rat here. It's not something that is going to be super concerning for the NL5 squad, because he just doesn't do that much damage right now, but between the Morphling up towards top, or in the side lanes, between this push happening in mid, they just don't have enough heroes at this stage. Pubber is narrowly going to edge out and escape on this bottom lane, but the Chen's army is pretty much completely intact, and now it's just time to maybe look for another pickoff, or just rat all 3 lanes at the same time. With the reinforcement power of the Morphling and the Queen of Pain, they can very easily do that, especially if they find Zayak, who's going to walk right over a double set of sentries. Ziggy is there with Mad Death Ward going to be channeled in. That's a super dead bounty. No tracks is going to make this a little bit easier to breach the high ground. Not really the best pickoff they could have found, but it's still much better than nothing. Sven, in the meantime, is outside of his base, and the Nature's Prophet is going to make sure that that stays the case. Even if Nature's Prophet dies right now, that's kind of okay, because they're diving in towards bottom. Lina already forced to go all the way back to the fountain. Roar is going to be committed onto Mad, but there's no damage follow-up here. Just the Necro Warriors. Now Pubber's going to jump in. Hammer onto 2 heroes. Not bad, but that's about all he can do. Surprisingly, no one's dead yet, but still the tower is taking quite the beating. Now Napoleoshka is going to get caught out. LSA is good, but it's not going to save her or the Beastmaster. Same with the Orchid's going to jump forward, still with the Aegis. Wants to take all the damage for his squad. And they'll take down the tier 3 tower. 18 minutes in already, Raxes are in trouble. They'll take out the Aegis. It's something for NL5, but I mean, Sing's back, and the creeps are still streaming in. Chen still has 2 of them. I think Bone 7's actually trapped, so, you know, sick micro there, but I don't think it matters either way. Range Raxes to fall, jump in for Runek, Waveform, Sonic Wave will all miss! Invoker will still die to the Soul Burn, though, as Sing, he will get cleaved down by the God Strength Sven. They get a really big kill in that, but they lose their melee Raxes and range Raxes. It's only 18 minutes in. Oh, will they lose their Raxes? No, it's actually going to stay standing with 18 HP, and it will regenerate, so for Kaipi, it does, I guess, not go as well as it could have, although Secret Agent Aegis Prophet, couple more right clicks, Bambo is going to claim the objective for his squad. They'll lose Mad on the retreat, as well as Sing Sing, but it forces the buyback out in the Invoker, and overall, that is still a massive, massive win for the Radiant team.
Yeah, the backdoor protection with a little bit of the downtime there is just enough of a window for Bambo to get in there and still be able to take advantage of it being deactivated. So, really nice for Kaipi. They lose when all is said and done, Sing Sing, so big kill for NL5, but not worth your lane of Rax. And yeah, that play from Bambo top, at least scouting Pubber out, allowing them to jump in bottom. They bait out the Roar on a target who, in the Witch Doctor, gets sent back, so they already used the, if you recall, the Death Ward as well to pick off the Bounty Hunter just before that push. So Primal Roar on the Witch Doctor was a non-ideal target in the first place, and him not even going down is just salt in the wound for Kaipi's side. So they get pretty much everything they want, and you know, Pubber is a concern to some extent for them. You saw him cleave down the Queen of Pain, but not going to be nearly a big enough one. With the Force Staff available now from Come With Me on top of the mech and the Hand of God, I mean, they're just going to be able to kite the Sven while they sustain themselves up. Level 3 Voodoo Restoration available as well for Come With Me. So Zayak, he may be caught out here. Bambo is going to jump forward, and he's actually going to pop out of his Shadow Walk as the Beastmaster was coming in, but it'll be blown up immediately to the E-Blade. Bambo will probably drop to the Necro units here, but I don't know, the mech's going to come through from Come With Me, and with the Orchid, they'll finish off the Lina as well. Drop down some Deep Vision, 3 heroes on the sideline. NL5 relying heavily on their 2 major cores to mount this defense, but doesn't feel like it'll nearly be enough. Second lane of Rax going to be threatened by Kaipi. First buyback comes out. Beastmaster has his available, but no Roar for 25 seconds. So his buyback is not going to feel like much but an intimidation attempt. They'll get the tier 3, jump forward. The Stormbolt will not find Sing Sing, and the E-Blade, it's going to blow up the Sven. Death Ward going to come through as well. Cask bouncing through 2. Bone 7 picks off the Lina in the backline. Sonic Wave is going to be the emphatic nail in the coffin as NL5, they're going to tap out of this game and out of NoShang. Kaipi, after a shaky game 1, going to come back with 2 very decisive victories to finish off the series.
Jeez, I was going to say, you know, Ethereal Blade great versus Sven because you ghost the Sven's target and then he can't hit him. or you can just kill this Sven with one shotgun blast. Like, that's good too, man. Morphling at the end of that was hitting for 200 something damage a pop base without any, that plus damage on top. So yeah, 10-0-6, that'll kind of do it for you. But at the same time, literally a 1v0 lane for the Morphling. Easiest lane in the entire world.
Yeah.
It's going to have a completely free time. And NL5, unfortunately, are going to drop from this tournament. I really, really hate to say teams were outdrafted, but for NL5, they really didn't have any action in this entire game. Like, they just didn't do anything. By the time they actually got their heroes together, it was already all over. They already lost like 3 tier 1 towers. I think it was that bottom lane fight where they first used that roar and they got completely demolished. That was like their best and only chance given how well their lanes went. So Kaipi getting an edge in the lanes, getting an edge in the draft, and execute pretty much perfectly. A nice clean 20-minute victory.
Yeah, maybe there was some merit to them leaving the Sven 1v1 against the Prophet. We saw, because the Beastmaster rotates early to the jungle, the Witch Doctor for Mad just being able to rotate anywhere he wanted to always secure an advantage, or at least not a disadvantage for his side. And there was just no response in that manner for NL5. And as you mentioned, the Bounty Hunter pretty much just dead weight throughout that early game. Not nearly as effective as perhaps an Earth Spirit in that position. And of course, that's why we'll see that hero pretty much banned out every game first phase. But yeah, it does feel like Kaipi just out strategizing them in this game 3, much more so than in any other game. Felt like they were out drafted in game 2, but once again, just kind of winning the last 2 games in the lanes. And that definitely seems to bode well for Kaipi. They play, at least from today, much better with an advantage than they do from behind.
All right, guys, that's going to be the end of today's stream. The next NoShang game is going to be in 2 days, so Friday. That one's going to be between Adfinem and Alternate. So, yeah, lagging behind a little bit there, but right now the winners, Kaipi, don't know their opposition, so they're just going to be sitting and chilling, which, given this tournament, may take a long time. But either way, because we're done for today, we hope you enjoyed this stream. If you did, be sure to follow it for the conclusion of the tournament. We're starting to wind down. Be sure to follow us on Twitter as well, at Mikelorus for myself, at Mrpdota for my co-caster. We're both in the upper right-hand corner of the screen and in the stream title. We'll see you guys next time. GG.